I made a game about a toilet named Tuffy for a high school project. This whole thing started almost 2 years ago, but when I first tried to bring it to life, things didn't go exactly as planned. But that wasn't the end of the story. Now it's time to tell you guys the rest of what happened, progress I made, mistakes I made, and whether I actually finished this game or not. So it's November now, and the teacher is expecting to see our progress on the games we've made thus far. And as you guys know, I haven't made much progress, so I had to start working on expanding my game from what it is currently, which is just a toilet, walking around and shooting with a gun. I spent the next few days working really hard on forming the game's game loop, which consisted of walking through a level, completing that level, and moving on to the next level while also shooting enemies and whatnot. The first step to doing this was creating the levels of my game. So I know absolutely nothing about building levels whatsoever, so I went on YouTube and learned a little bit about level design and how things work, like using coins to lead, or collectibles to lead the player to certain areas, or even just showing the problem before the solution, because it would be weird if you found a key to a door before you actually got to the door. This basic logic like that. Around this time, while building out my level, I realized that I don't really have a main mechanic for the game. So a really easy one that I thought would be pretty cool was adding a recoil jump to the gun, so that you could use that to maneuver to higher jumps that you wouldn't be able to reach using just your normal jump ability. Which, by the way, now that I realize it, it's kind of weird how you can just jump as a toilet. You know, you don't have any legs. You use the willpower, like the water inside you, to lift you up into the sky. Like, you're a walking toilet anyway, so it shouldn't make sense in the first place, I guess. But here I am now, making a game about a running and jumping toilet. Anyway, started working on that recoil jump system. So Corgi Engine already had a recoil system for all their projectile weapons in place, which is half the reason why I actually ended up using it. It was very easy. All I had to do was apply the component to the actual prefab of my weapon, and the recoil jump started working. I could just shoot down the ground and I'd go flying. It was actually pretty fun. And I designed the entire level based off this recoil jump, so I had most of the jumps in my level were high enough to the point where you would have to use the gun to get to them, forcing people to actually use it. So after building out this level, I noticed that it looked boring, really. Like, it was kind of lame. It was just a few blocks and like a gray background. It didn't really look interesting. So I thought of the idea of adding some parallax to it, which is essentially just the illusion that there's depth in my game. In reality, all my sprites, the platform, the character, they're all on one flat 2D paper. Parallaxing is so that, say I have a background, which I do in this game, it makes it seem like there's space in between the background and the foreground. So as you can see here, after I used ChatGPT to create a parallax script, the background now looks like it's so much further back, creating this illusion that there's this huge facility that Tuffy's walking in, which ended up looking pretty sick. So the level was practically done, but it was missing one key element: enemies. The player needs a challenge to actually get through this level. As of right now, they can kind of just walk through and beat the game. It's not that hard. You just gotta get used to the jumping. Yeah, the enemies would make an interesting challenge for the player so that they could actually shoot things with the gun instead of just shooting at the ground. I got to work designing some poop enemies because that was the idea. You have a toilet shooting poop, and I started animating little sprite sheets for 3 different types of poop enemies. Initially, I was gonna have a whole idea for like complex toilet enemies that would appear in every single level. Like, there would be this kind of toilet enemy in the first level, another type in a different level, but I never got to that because I'm lazy. So Corgi Engine already had a template for building enemies off, so I just built off that, got my sprite in there, adjusted some settings, added some new components to my new prefab, and now I had an enemy that could walk around. Whoa, okay. Yeah, that's a problem. After fixing some bugs with the animations that actually show up, it actually looked pretty cool. And you could shoot it, and using Unity's particle system, I made this sick effect when you kill the enemy, or when you just shoot it, kind of like poop flies off of it, like that, yeah. And now that I had the simple enemy just walking around, I had to add one more unique enemy using the skinny poop spreadsheet that I made. This one would be different in that it would shoot projectiles at the player instead of just walking towards it. I just reused the projectile weapon system on this enemy and was able to shoot the player when it looked at him. So now I had some variety in the enemies that made the game a little bit more interesting. Not that it was interesting before, or still is now, but it's cooler now, I think. today was the day that I give the update on my game for the teacher to see. He wants to see what I have today. So I was stressed out. The reason I've been working this hard recently was because of this email. So I gotta show him what I got. One quick detail I needed to add before I showed it to him was the sound effects. So I got a sound effect for actually shooting the gun, player jumping, for him walking, and some sound effects for the enemies when you shoot them. Other than that, I think everything was good, and it was ready to show the teacher my game. I wake up that morning, brush my teeth, eat some breakfast, go to school, and I'm waiting there. Eventually he comes over, and he plays my game. And disappointingly, he hated the game. No, I'm just kidding. He loved the game. He thought it was actually really funny. I'm really happy with the feedback he gave me, and he said the game was funny. He thought my toilet game was funny. So after that huge boost of confidence from my teacher, thank you, Mr. Stevens, I started working very hard for the next few days. And one thing that I knew my game needed was some unique levels, because as of right now, it was kind of just a gray screen. You're walking around a gray factory. It was very boring. So I decided to go on a stock image website, and I found this green goo, which contrasted really well with the grayish yellows in my level thus far, and it would kind of be like, oh yeah, this is a factory, and like they have sewage, and the sewage kind of made the poop come alive, and it's like working story. Okay, so now my entire level was full of slime that I kind of just placed everywhere, and it actually looked pretty interesting. Along with the parallaxing that I added different layers of parallaxing, so some slime appeared closer than others, and yeah, it looked pretty cool. So one thing that my teacher did request was adding one more level just to show that I did more work. So I got to doing that, and now that my first level had something unique about it, my second level had to have something unique about it. I went on the stock image website again, and I found this pipe asset. Thought it looked pretty cool. Kind of reminded me of a certain game about a plumber walking around on pipes, but anyway, I added that to the game. I kind of just copied and pasted different pipes everywhere all over the facility, and I ended up with a result. It looks okay. Not as good as the first level, I don't think, but no, I was trying to get this game done, so do whatever I can.